going on, guys? I know it's been a minute, you know what I'm saying? But I'm here, you know what I mean? Back in my hometown, Hartford, Connecticut. You know what I mean? It's been a long time. But so now I want to speak on the seventh day, right? Which is the Sabbath day, and the significance of the Sabbath, right? The cosmic significance for that matter. All right? I used to be an Israelite. I'm not bashing on any Israelite groups or anything like that. But these occult leaders are not teaching you the actual meaning of the Sabbath. All right. So now I'm going to propose to you that the Sabbath, it is a state of mind, right? Also followed by returning to a former state of consciousness, because we were there at one point, all right? The former state of mind, right? Followed by enlightenment, right? It is enlightenment, all right? So now, because in order to get to the Sabbath, right? Because Exodus, remember, says, remember the Sabbath, right? And what is the Sabbath? The Sabbath is the day of anointment, right? It is the point of enlightenment. And to get to the point, the seventh, right? The Sabbath day, to get there, you have to activate the seven wheels, right? The seven seals that the book of Revelations, chapter 5, verse 1 talks about. And I'll get there in a second. All right, so now, in order to get there, Christ was always teaching that the kingdom, it's within. It's not without. All right. So in order to activate the seventh seal, right, to get to the Sabbath, to keep the Sabbath day holy, because it is holy, it's set apart. So now I'm going to give you an example. So we're going to go to Revelations chapter 1 and verse 10. All right. And it says real quick, it says, I was in the spirit of the Lord's day, right? He was in the spirit of the point of enlightenment, all right? And that day, all right? And that day it's holy, it's set apart, all right? It's not an actual Saturday. It's not a physical thing. It's a spiritual rest of place, not a physical rest of place, all right? Jerusalem is in the mind here. Remember, Christ said that the kingdom, it's within. It's within. It's not without. All right. So now, you remember in the book of Mark, I'm going to get there real quick. Mark. Well, because Christ, he defiled the Sabbath. Right? Remember the Pharisees were like, hey, you can't be eating corn, on the Sabbath. What are you doing? That was Mark chapter 2. Let's get there real quick. Mark chapter 2. In verse 23, right? Right here. Right there, verse 23. And it came to a pass, right? They went through the cornfield on the Sabbath day, right? And his disciples began, as they went, to pluck the ears of the corn. And the Pharisees along start saying, you can't be doing that on the Sabbath day. But here's the thing. Cristo knew that it had to do with enlightenment. With enlightenment, all right? Enlightenment means it's day, right? Enlightenment is day. Day equals enlightenment, right? Night, right, equals ignorance. So who was in the ignorance here? It was the Pharisees, all right? And Christ had enlightenment because he knew that the Sabbath was not a day, all right? It was set apart, all right? It was a former state of mind that we were there at one point. So now, in Revelation chapter 5, first and foremost, Christ always taught that the kingdom is within, and that in order to raise your consciousness, you have to take no thought, and that's Matthew 6. In order to raise your consciousness to get to the Sabbath inwardly, not outwardly, all right, is to raise the 7 seals, all right, that Christ was referring to in the book of Revelation chapter 5. But before that, we're going to go to John chapter 2, chapter 21, verse 6, where he talks about throwing your net on the right hand side. All right. So John chapter 21, verse 6 says, and he said unto them, cast the net on the right side of the ship, right, and you shall find. They cast thereof, and now they were not able to draw it from the multitude of fishes. So now, when he says, and he said unto them, cast the net on the right side of the ship, the right side is referring to the right side of the hemisphere, all right, the right side of the hemisphere, because it's feminine, right? Sophia, the love of wisdom, all right. Fish, right? It's a symbol of wisdom, all right. And how many fish did they catch? Let's see. 21 and and 11, and it reads, Simon Peter went up and drew the net land full of great fishes, and 153. Now we're going to do this numerology, mathematics. So 1, right, plus 5 plus 3 equals 9, which is the 9 highest conscious. So what he was teaching, right, the disciples to put your energy on the right hand side of the hemisphere of the ship to raise your consciousness to the 9 highest conscious. All right, that's what he was teaching. So when he says this, when he says in the book of Matthew 6, chapter 25, he says take no thought. So in other words, when he says take no thought, you have to let and detach yourself from everything that's outside of you, because the Sabbath is not physical, it's spiritual. All right, it's spiritual. Now let's go to Revelation chapter 5 real quick, and I'm going to show you something. When he was talking about the net. Chapter 5, Revelations. Revelation means to reveal. All right, keep that in mind. And I saw on the right hand of him that sat on the throne of the book that was written on the back side, right? The back side, because there's 33 vertebrae, right? Christ died at the age of 33, right? And on top here is the 33 vertebrae, right? And on the back side are 7 chakras that is referring to the 7 seals, right? On the throne of the book written within, on the back side, sealed within 7 seals. You see? The 7 seals are the 7 wheels, are your 7 chakras that we have to raise up. All right, and that's what Christ was teaching. Christ always taught Christ consciousness. All right, therefore we are not the body. We are not the body. All right, we're here on earth to experience. Therefore, making us gods. All right, we're consciousness. There's only one consciousness. With that being said, peace, one love. It's good to be back.